Hey, I'm Pete Kalu, and I'm a poet, novelist, short story writer. I sometimes make film. I do songs occasionally, and I'm here to talk to you about how you create place poems. Now, I guess it's very hard when you're living in a place. The place I live in is Manchester, so Manchester to me is my normal. I most of the times I couldn't make a poem about Manchester because I just can't see it. It's like wallpaper. It's just always been there. I don't see anything. Um, the occasions when I do get an insight into Manchester is when something strange or different happens, and at that point, it's like an X-ray has occurred, and suddenly you can see things that you didn't notice before. And for me, lockdown was an occasion when Manchester revealed itself because it became an eerie place with all the measures that were put in place to get people off the streets to stay at home. It became like a ghost town. And suddenly there were these vast civic spaces that were empty. You go to the town square and you see all these statues. So they're the only figures there. And it's as if they kind of almost stepping off their podiums and walking around themselves as statues because there were no human beings out there to compete with them for the space. And the shops were shuttered. It's bright sunlight. At a time when you'd expect the street to be heaving, it was quiet, silent, shuttered. Everything's locked up, locked down. And so this was eerie, ghostly effects. And I thought, yeah, this is something that I'd like to capture. And so I wrote a poem about Manchester using this X-ray method. This is something strange that has happened to the place, and I can see it now. I can X-ray it now. Here's the poem. I'm going to find it using my screen share, and so bear with me. My eyes will be wandering all over the place. I'll be umming and ahhing while I go to my screen and find it for you. Let me see. Share screen. Here we go. Got a bit of siren in. Put it from the car. Gone. Gone the stench and raw crowds in heaving marketplaces. Gone the jostling in high streets. Gone the hot handshakes, the bear hugs, the wild wedding spins, the stolen kisses. Gone the curses, the parties, the parades. Gone the mobile manicures, the barber shops snipping. Gone the hammams, the health clubs, the sweaty gyms. It's all gone. 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 In the place, journeys along depopulated streets, dead cities washed over by bare statues, shutters, locks, masks, minds frozen, heads spinning, headlights skating icy roads, seeking the salvation of a negative test. Oh. There you go. So that was my poem about Manchester in its lockdown state. And I drove and someone filmed this isolated, ghostly city. So that's the X-ray poem method. Another method I've used for capturing the soul of a city is to interview people, to have a conversation with people, and from that conversation to rummage around in the wording of the conversation for phrases, for expressions, for feelings which connect in some way and give you a sense of the city, what it's like to live in the city. And so for the next poem, which is like a conversation poem, you have to interview the people to do this kind of poem. And the poem isn't necessarily your voice, it's the voice of the persons you're interviewing. In this case, it was a woman who'd come from Nigeria and who was feeling lonely because she was very far from Nigeria. She's living in London. And she was also suffering from the additional loneliness of lockdown. And in the conversation that we had, what came across was she had a great religious faith, and she was holding on to that as a way of keeping herself going. But she mentioned how she missed her friends, she missed the phone calls, the chats, the presence, the physical presence of other people. She'd been very, very isolated in a sort of small, white walled room. So yeah, she was having a really tough time, and I tried to take her words, take the conversation she had with me, and use that as inspiration for a poem. And I happened to have with me at the time my daughter who can play and sing. So I converted it from a poem into a song. But as poem, it begins, sometimes I feel so lonely. I look up to the sky, and if there are clouds up there, I close my eyes. When I don't know what to do, I ask the Lord to pull me through, to lift me high. So those were the words that I associated with the person I interviewed, uh, poured into a rhyming scheme, poured into a kind of poem, and also poured into a shape that could work as a gospel song. And from that, yeah, I bet you guessed it, we kind of made something of a gospel song. So what I'm gonna do now is find that one. I think I got it there, and we're gonna share that one. Uh, so here you go.
Sometimes I feel so lonely. I look up to the sky, and if the clouds are up there, I close my eyes when I don't know what to do. I ask the Lord to get me through and lift me high. Tell me all your plans and how I fit in. I am feeling low, so lift me, lift me, lift me, lift me high. Lift me high. Lift me, lift me, lift me, lift me, lift me, lift me high.
There you go. If that doesn't lift you high, nothing will. It's a beautiful song that adapted from the poem, and it's got this. As a song, it doesn't have too many demanding notes. We deliberately kept the song quite even, so that almost anyone could sing along, and that's part of why some church songs, some gospel songs work so well, and some poems. If you want a poem where everyone can join in with the line, then you gotta make the lines easy for people. It's an African song and poem tradition. The call and response. Sometimes I'm sure you all know. You say hip, I say hop. That kind of thing. Yeah. So that's call and response and conversation, interviewing people, and then trying to create a poem that uses or is inspired by the words to represent a place. Yeah, I thought that was a good representation of the spirit of the woman, and of how many people were feeling in London at the time. So it kind of stood in for London itself, as well as Lagos. The film was set in Lagos, in Nigeria, because I felt, yeah, part of the loneliness was having known such a, a place where she knew so much tenderness, she had so many friends, and then suddenly to be among, so feel so isolated. It was a tough gig for her. The poem is much longer than that little excerpt from that you saw, and you can see the full length of the poem if you go to the YouTube link. I'll try and get it for you. Okay, next one. The next one I've got, you might call a list poem, and it's also, you could call it a history poem. So it's the history of Manchester, and it's a list poem, meaning it's just a list of similar words in a great big list. And for this one, I kind of thought about, okay, what is the cast of Manchester? Who are the people who have made Manchester what it is? Good and bad, famous, infamous, who made a contribution. Go and research all those people. That's the history research burden. Often when I've been traveling, people have come to me about small villages that I've visited and say, look, this is how it was founded. This is the first few people. These were the sheep shearers, you know. These were the coopers. These were the people who fixed horses. Here are the blacksmiths. This were the chimney sweeps, and you go on and learn. These were the first sailors, etc., who visited our town. He gathered up kind of a cast of thousands, if you like, and choose the ones that have a resonance for you. Choose the ones that feel good to write about for you, and then create a poem out of that. So this poem, I'll just give you an example that with Manchester, I use the word for one of them. I think that part of Manchester is the contribution of Caribbean Carnival. I used to have a band myself called Moppa Jumbi. We used to perform in Carnival every year. And so that's the word carnivalist. I use a carnivalist. And then the other word I use is right next to it is miserablist. So the carnivalist is kind of quite an exuberant experience. And the miserablist, I use that word because there was a moment in Manchester music time when the goth movement was big. It still is to some extent. And musicians were wandering around cemeteries singing mournful songs. So I called them miserablists, carnivalists, miserablists. That's that bit. So I'm going to get onto my machine again and see if I can find something for you. Yeah, I found that one. I must say that I was filming this one, and I was filming where around me in a public space were some people who'd had a little bit too much to drink, maybe. And every time I tried to speak the poem, they did interrupt or they call out, and they just wanted to be part of it. And lovely though that was, I couldn't quite make it work. So what I did was improvisation. I got some cardboard, wrote the lines of the poem on the cardboard, and just went through the poem visually instead of and then I've added a music track. So here you go. With a bit of luck, we're gonna get that one up. It's a really interesting one, this poem. Here you go. Right. Hey, you get it twice. It's so short. Trick is slow down. Go to YouTube or whatever and slow down, catch the words. There you go, Manchester, MCR. All right. So that was a real fun one. Various versions of that poem. It's called Manchester. And it says card village, midlets, bridge builders, ball jugglers, atom smashers, everybody who's came to my mind as having participated in the making of Manchester one way or another. That was fun, just picking them out and adding a little bit of rhyme. The carnivalist, miserabilist, that's the ist, wherever you find a pattern, a language pattern, it's sometimes fun to put them together and just see where it goes. So that was fun. Yeah, I like to write what's fun. I like to write what's engaging, what I'm passionate about. I don't see writing or creating poetry as something that is an ordeal. It should be something that you're really full of life about. All right, so my next type of poem that I've got for you is a kind of a bit of a history poem, and it's also a poem based on photos and archives. And this one is about a place called Arkansas, and it's really my interest in the civil rights movement. And there was a girl of about 15 called Elizabeth who was one of the first people, if not the first person, black girl in Arkansas to go to a non-segregated school, a school that was had a catchment of both white and black pupils. And this was at a time when such a thing was had been banned. And when that the legislation changed so that it was possible, there was great opposition. And I think Elizabeth is kind of like a hero. So I think of her as a hero in the way that you may have a local hero in your area where you live or in a place that you know about, and you might want to write about them. So I just felt so inspired, and I was in such admiration of the courage that Elizabeth showed, that I wanted to write about her. And so I wrote about her life, or I imagined her life, and her life also not just when she went to school, but her later life in the civil rights movement. Perhaps I created this almost fictional biography around her, and I called it after where she lived, Little Rock. So you've got a play on words. It's called Little Rocks Tumbling Down on Me is one of the lines. Little rocks tumbling down on me, which sounds like, heavy things, bad things happening to me, but it's also a reference to the place, Little Rock, Arkansas, where she was. All right, I'm going to find that one for you. Now, this one is a little longer, so bear with. And yet again, my daughter has supplied the song. She's probably the star of this one more than me. She put in an absolutely fantastic song. The lyrics, as usual, are on the YouTube page where it's at, but I'm going to let you hear this one now. Wait a minute. Here we go.
Waking up in the night, calling your name. Riding the train to work, mumbling the same. At the water cooler, what rose it did got everyone aflame. But the wheels of the bus came off for me and you. Oh, the wheels of the bus came off for me and you. Who would have believed me and you? It would all come to this. Say your name and it's raining. Little rocks tumbling down on me. Who would have believed me and you? It would all come to this. Say your name and it's raining. Little rocks tumbling down on me. The irritating thought, the buzz like mosquitoes, I swatted it away. Gray became iridescent blue that day. When I saw you, black hair raised, I'm in line, but not with me. Wind full of sound, let the tears roll till I can see. Who would have believed me and you? It would all come to this. Say your name and it's raining. Little rocks tumbling down on me. Who would have believed me and you? It would all come to this. Little rocks tumbling down on me. Say your name and it's raining. Little rocks tumbling down on me. Morning comes and 15 walking through the jeers to school. Arms around my books, I know my aim is true. education more powerful and hate more powerful than you. Say your name and it's raining. We do what we got to do. Say your name. Say your name. Say your name. Say your name and it's raining. Little rocks tumbling down on me.
I'll let the credits roll because it's such a great production that I think if there are credits, we did the credits at the beginning, I guess, didn't we? That's cool. Okay. All right, so that was the third, or was it the fourth example of poems about place, and that one was taking a particular individual who you admire, I guess, and writing the poem around them. It's effective and it's allows you to zoom in on one person, whereas the poem that we looked at just before this one with Manchester, carnivalist, miserabilist, was looking at a cast of thousands. So yeah, both can work, either the individual character or the cast of thousands, the history kind of poem. Or you do the X-ray poem when something weird sort of happens in your town, when suddenly some magic occurs. For instance, back before lockdown, I used to remember when the final year students left the secondary school. In some towns, they've got these traditions where they flower bomb each other, and they all get their tops written with names autographed by their friends from their class, and they chase about town, it seems to me. It's some of it's just a general wildness and breaking free and capturing that. That's a kind of just a moment of release that is a great thing to try and capture. So yeah, you're looking for those moments. That's the X-ray poem. And then what did we do? We did the COVID poem. Yeah, that was great. And all right, so there's the options. You've got interview poem, can interview people. Lift Me High was from that. You've got the X-ray poem, which is suddenly something happens like COVID, and the nature of the town, the way you see the town is transformed. We've got the history poem, where you research all this cast of thousands of people who contributed for good or bad to the place. And then you've got, I guess the last one is kind of like just one individual, and it was sparked initially by just one photograph. You can do a poem about a place just by looking at one image of it, that resonates for you, that engages you, that grabs you, that you think, wow, there's something about this that sums up everything about a place. Okay, so be inspired, do what moves you, and enjoy the process. Don't worry about the result. And eventually juggle the words around enough, and they'll land in the right place, and you'll have your poem. I wish you luck. Take care.